God. Present.
Next we'll have the National Anthem by Gold Star family member Talia Walsh.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight poured on ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a moment just of silence for our men and women that are still out there? Thank you.
Order. All right, rest.
Thank you, Kim. Well, as I look out here and I see all of you all here today, it's very humbling, but it also makes me proud to be an American. What a great turnout for this event today. You should be proud as well. I just want to say, any event that we undertake that's worthy to undertake as this project, especially when it includes major amounts of time and financial resources, doesn't go without some measure of difficulty. I'm sure there were times over these last few years trying to put this together that we wondered if this would ever come to pass. But here we are today. And I want to personally thank Kim and George Atkinson, Mark Zinski, the Olyphant Borough Freedom Fighter Committee, all of you, everyone who was involved in this project, because all of you working together brought this to fruition, and I think it's something we can be proud of. Amen? And one last thing that I'll say. Just when we look behind us here, this is a place we can all come to and we can reflect, we can pray, and we can be proud of those who served our country and who serve our country. Like my Uncle Tom here, Judge Tom Munley in the Army, my grandfather, his father in the Navy, my father, Jack Munley, in the Army, and all of you who served. I just want to thank you for all who have served and continue to serve. You're a blessing and honor to this nation. Let us pray. Lord Jesus, we come before you today, and we thank you for this humbling event, Lord, this awesome event that has been put together, Lord, and we just want to thank you for all of those gathered here today. Lord, we want to thank you for the servicemen and women, Lord, who gave, Lord, of their time, their service, and some even the ultimate sacrifice so that we can be here freely to celebrate what it is that we see here today, this Freedom Fighter Monument, Lord. And Father God, I just want to thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for everyone gathered here today. I pray blessing upon this event. And I can't help but think, Lord Jesus, that you say in your word in John 15, greater love has no one than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And Lord, we can relate to that today because many men and women have laid down their lives for their friends, for the freedom of this nation. You, Lord Jesus, laid down your life. You spilled your blood so we can have not only eternal life in you, but that we can be free to serve, free to love one another. So I can't help be here today, but see what all the men and women have done, that you have done also, Jesus. You gave your life so that we can have life. So Lord, we just want to thank you as we honor the great sacrifice of the men and women of this great nation who continue to sacrifice. Yes, we cannot forget them as well. And just thank you for this time that you have given us on this special, special day. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you and God bless.
Now I'd like our Olyphant Mayor, Sedlak, to come up and welcome everyone. You can be seated.
Thank you, Kim. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful day we have here today. It's an honor for me to stand here as mayor in this ceremony honoring 21st century freedom fighters and veterans of eras past and present. As many of you know, I'm here because the man who held this position previously, my father, John Sedlak, passed away in January. He told me many times how honored he was to be given the opportunity to speak at gatherings such as these, honoring our veterans. And I know how proud he would be today to see this project come to fruition and the hard work of Kim Atkinson and Mark Zinski. Today we honor heroes that served and gave their lives in defense of freedoms we enjoy. The courage, dedication, and sacrifices made are beyond measure. The families who sacrificed while loved ones were deployed, missing birthdays, holidays, and more, and those who suffered the ultimate sacrifice that few can comprehend. We thank you for your sacrifices. This park serves as a memorial for those patriots that served this great country. And as we are joined here today, enjoying those freedoms so many fought for, I want to ask everyone to be mindful of how we are spending our time enjoying these freedoms to honor those sacrifices. We live in troubled times with violence in schools, drugs in our community. My ask today is that you take today to spend time with loved ones, be kind to one another, and be thankful for this great nation. I thank you for this opportunity to join you here today on behalf of Olyphant Borough. We thank you for this occasion of remembrance. Thank you.
At this point, I'm going to say a few words and introduce myself. I'm the coordinator and chairperson for the event. My name is Kim Atkinson. I'm a retired emergency room nurse and trauma assistant. And it is my honor, duty, and privilege to be able to present this magnificent sculpture to you, crafted by Mr. Mark Zinsky over there. And hold up your hand, Mark, for a minute. I want to thank the Olyphant Borough Council, the mayor, everyone that came forward and helped us in this endeavor. It's been a long time coming. We began this journey on September 11th, 2017, and how we got to that point was my husband George and I, and George, where are you? There he is, over there. We put up over 250 Hometown Hero banners in our town, and at the time, we were unaware of this statue. Mark Zinsky, who I didn't know from Adam, called me out of the clear blue sky one day and said, I made this sculpture in my living room. It's a soldier. Can I bring it out and show it at the event? I said, what's it made out of? He said, it's made out of garbage. And I said, what do you mean? He said, there's tin cans, chicken wire, glass bottles, spray foam, Bondo, and some chicken bones. I said, well, if you're proud of it, come on, bring it on down. So we set it up at the end of the road over here. And at the time, I had invited all my friends from the VA and the county and everybody, and they were all here. They saw it and they ran to it. And anybody that knows me or familiar with me, I've put up several monuments throughout the county. And I parted the sea. I said, this one's for us, guys. It was made in our town. We need this here. And we're going to put this up here. And they were very kind and very supportive and gave us the money to get started. And we took Mark's original, and it only weighed a couple, maybe 100 pounds, Mark? 100 pounds. And you could pick it up and move it around, but it wasn't going to last. So the money that they gave us to get started, we took it to the Art Research Enterprises down in Lancaster. And thank you, Jerry Tulling. He took it back and forth a couple of times. Where is he, Jerry? Thank you. They molded it, and I said, well, okay. The other monuments we did were all bronze. I said, this needs to be something different. It's a 21st century desert soldier. So let's do what Pennsylvania's famous for. We're famous for steel, and that's what we did. It's brushed stainless steel, and it's magnificent, as you can see. We didn't cover it now because I think you've all seen it over the last 5 years. We've been trying to show it up and get some. Look at the people that came out to see this today. This is amazing. So anyway, once we did that, we started designing the ground. Well, actually, no, we had another spot. We had another spot up by the train station, which I was grateful for. But I was a little afraid. There was a lot of traffic there. There was no place to sit and contemplate or visit it. What if the train derailed? So, at that point, we had gotten the statue back. We had raised enough money. We had several fundraisers and raised a lot of money. So we were ready to go in 2019 and COVID hit. And the statue went into a hiatus. And Jeff Parise, our wonderful, wonderful stone mason and engraver and good friend, stored it at his facility. So it was on hold. Everything was waiting. We were hiding. Everyone was hiding in their homes. And I got a call one day from the borough, and they said, you know what? We just tore down a building right here, and it was a historic place. It was our first fire company. And they said, would you like to have that space? We were thinking of putting up a parking lot, but this might be better, and it sure is. Let me tell you, here we are. Not only do we have our monument to our 21st century desert soldier, we have an all-veteran park. There are many veterans from World War I on up. At least we have some sod, but we're not done yet. We're going to do a few other little things here. And we're just so grateful. Olyphant is called the Queen City. And today I feel we put a jewel in the crown of the Queen City. And I want to thank everybody. And there's people here that I really want to thank. And there's a couple in particular. My parents, my mom and dad here, thank you. Thank you for being so supportive. And here is John DeAngelis. Where is he? Stand up and wave here, John. Show them who he is. The drawing what I wanted to be the base of the statue. When I looked at it, I said we have to do something different with that. It's not just going to be a square space, but if you're standing looking down at the statue from above, where the pavers are, they're in the shape of a Medal of Honor. So the statue is sitting in the middle of a medal. So you'll be able to see that as you walk around. And there's a dedication in the back. We've had benches here dedicated to different people and entities that helped us get to this point. We have a fourth bench coming in the spring, and there are blank pavers in ground that will be engraved in the ground. So if you still want to get a paver, we've got the forms. We'll see me after the event, or you can call the Borough Building anytime or pick up a form there, and we'll get you started. But without further ado, I'm going to let you meet our artist, sculptor, poet, musician, contractor, and mason, and creator of the Freedom Fighter, Mr.
Mooney Street!
Mooney Street representative. To breathe the breath of a soldier. For one moment, think not of me, but for the lives that I may never know. Warrior, lover, brother, slave. My army's colors, the colors of red, will show the world the blood will shed. My army's colors, the colors of white. I'll fight your war in the daytime. I'll fight your war at night. My army's colors, the colors of blue. I'll show the world my heart, it's true. To breathe the breath of a soldier, I walk blindly into the night. To hunt and kill for freedom, on the wings of a dove taking flight. Thank you to my hometown. Thank you to Olyphant Borough leadership. Thank you to Lackawanna County for their absolute support. Thank you most of all to every service person that's here. This American appreciates your service and sacrifice. The project couldn't have happened without Kimmy. Thank you, Kim. And my partner in business, Sean Anderson, was my alternate strong arm here during construction. I have to mention him. This is a sacred place. I hope everyone enjoys it. And I guess that just about covers it. Thank you, guys. To all the service people, I just can't, I have to say it again. And there's one, I forgot one specific person in our nation's military. The soldier who endures 120-degree afternoons. The desert soldier. So thank you guys. Thank you to all the men and women who served in the blazing heat and then have to go to bed in the freezing nighttime. Cheers.
All right, we're going to, it says please stand, please don't, just be seated. We're just going to unveil the bottom of the stone so everyone can see it. When I designed the bottom of the stone, and I do have to tell you, this stone that is sitting upon, it was ready to be delivered at the beginning of COVID and was cut in India. It was loaded on a barge and sent across the ocean to us and was kind of lost because they wouldn't let the barge dock during COVID. So we weren't sure where it was for a while, but it's here. And the front of it, you'll see, it started out with a waving flag, but it turned out to be what you'll recognize as desert camouflage. So I'm gonna let you see it right now. And somebody else I forgot to mention here, and she's standing right over there, my sister, who has been inspirational to me, and I don't want you to go away. And my brother over here, who is the president of the council, so sometimes have it in. But thank you. So Mark and I are going to unveil the stone right now for you. Land of the free because of the brave. It's the most appropriate thing I've ever heard. And we're so glad to have it here in town. Let's see. Mark made me cry during that poem. We have it on the back here. And we're going to put in a fourth bench, and that will have part of that poem engraved on it in spring.
It's actually a song.
Oh, it is a song. He wrote a song. He's a musician, and that song is going to be The Breath of a Soldier. Buy the album, everybody, whenever it's All right, we're going to have some remarks. And this is an amazing person who has followed everything I've done. Judge Munley, I can't say enough more about him, but he represents everything a veteran is. Please come up, Judge.
What an event. I'll tell you what, Kim, thanks for what you did for all of us veterans and all of the people here. This is really amazing, and I'll tell you why. I was at an event, an unveiling in Philadelphia. We didn't get anywhere near the amount of people that are here in Olyphant. Now Philadelphia has what, 1.5 million people or something? You should be so proud of what you did here in this area, in this town of Olyphant. I'm in my 70s. I wasn't going to run for an office, But seeing this group here, I might run again. I want to say, I am so lucky to be here. Jackie, you know this. We talked about it all the time, and we talked about Dave Isley. We talked about this. The politicians who are in this area always help. I was with Chris Shermack almost all day today. We're going around helping veterans. When Patrick O'Malley was the county commissioner, he used to call me every single day and say, "What do you want me to do for veterans?" Jim Couture, you're the same way. Chris Patrick, you're the same way. When I was judge, and Charlie Spano, you invite me to everything for veterans. Nobody stops working for veterans in this area. It just doesn't stop, and I'll never forget that as long as I live. When I came home from Vietnam in the early 70s, not many people really cared about veterans. Nobody cared. You want to hear one story? It'll be very fast. I was in line for gas. There was a big line for the gas. The guy threw me out of the line. He wouldn't let me get gas because I was a veteran. He said, "Go someplace else." I couldn't believe it. Now I'm so honored to be a veteran. I'm so proud of what all these people do. Jim, you know how hard we work for veterans. Dave Isley, he doesn't stop. It's a process that'll never end. And I'm going to tell you something, Kim and George and all of you here. I'm going to come and visit this place a lot because this is a sacred place. It's a place where we should all go. And I want to thank all of you for being part of this. And I'm telling you, the group here is bigger than Philadelphia, and I love every one of you. I didn't expect this.
Next, we have representative of our Lackawanna County Commissioners. Sure.
Well, it's kind of hard to follow Judge Munley. It's a privilege to be here. Matter of fact, it's a privilege for me every day to serve the residents of Lackawanna County. I take it very seriously. I work very hard. But we're here today to honor the folks that serve, the folks that are serving, our Gold Star families, with the service, the sacrifice that they have done and have put out for us to live in a free country and to enjoy what we enjoy. I can't thank you enough, and I know none of us here could ever thank you enough for what everyone has done for our country here. To have this statue in town, in the borough of Olyphant, that's remarkable. It's a beautiful thing. I can't wait I'll be here a lot too. I'll bring you, Judge. We'll come over. We'll have coffee on the new bench when it gets.
Yeah, great idea, guys.
But it's great to see everybody here. We got a beautiful day, and thank you. It's beautiful. So thank you very much.
mention this, and I would be glad to. We're having a Veterans Expo and Job Fair on November the 9th, and it's from 11 to 4 at the Mohegan Sun Convention Center. Please do, if you're a veteran trying to get some information, please do come down. We have a lot of things to offer for our veterans. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we're going to have Kyle Mullins, who was a great representative for us and helped us quite a bit, as did the county commissioners with money for this wonderful statue here in Clark. But unfortunately, if we would, a moment of silence, Kyle's father has passed away and couldn't be here today. So we do have a representative from his office, and where's he go? There he is. Davis, and he's going to just say a few words. And we're just glad that he's here and to thank Kyle for his contribution.
First, Kyle would obviously be here from the circumstance he couldn't. I want to thank, it's been said several times, but I want to thank all of our members of the military for their service. You can never say it enough. I also want to congratulate Tim, Mark, the entire committee, all the volunteers that saw this beautiful project fruition, and they should be very proud. And obviously, you know, the community involvement was huge here, and I'm happy that everyone's out here to support it and enjoy it. And thank you.
Okay, moving on. We're going to have a Gold Star family member, and this girl is very special to us. She is the fiance of our Sergeant Jan Arganish, who was lost at war. And she is also the owner of Quest Studios, and she's just going to come up and say a few words. Oh, I'm sorry, it was Jimmy next. Okay, did I skip over you? Of course I would, right? I'm sorry, but we will introduce you again. Okay, so we're going. I know. But anyway, okay, we're going to do Jimmy next, and he's the Olyphant Council President, Jimmy Baldwin.
Oh, I know. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Jim. And distinguished guests. On behalf of myself, Bob Hudak, Jerry Tully, Mike Avda, Beth Cruchon, and Dina Harrington, Dave Krakovich could not make it today. I want to welcome you here today. When people like this comes to council and they bring us an idea like this, and it comes from the heart, and it will enhance our beautiful little town of Olyphant, we're thrilled to help out. Individuals like Kim Atkinson, she is so dedicated to what she does. She never stops. She puts her whole heart into everything she does, and she does not stop until it's finally completed and everything is perfect. And we do appreciate it. Then you have Mark Zinsky. Mark Zinsky is such a fabulous person, such a fabulous artist. I was standing here one day and he was making some final touches to the site itself, and I asked him, what does this mean to you, Mark? And he said, the artist in me, the craftsman in me, the hometown in me. I don't have the words, but I have the words, Mark. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate my hometown.
You know that. Because Mark's abilities is followed by a very important thing. It comes from his heart. And we notice that. And when someone brings something from their heart and they put it in front of you like this, you gotta love it. And it'll be here for an eternity in our town. And we could come here and celebrate the veterans. And I'm so pleased, and council is so pleased to work with great individuals like this. You know, thank you. Have a great day, and let's enjoy this together.
To say a few words, because he was instrumental in helping getting the money back and forth to the Foundry and so many other things. He washed the road this morning. But he needs to say a few words.
Good afternoon, and thank you from the bottom, not just my heart, Kim, council, and everybody that was involved in this for being here. We worked very hard and wanted something that would be noticed nationally. You people have brought that to us because a lot of these guys here, I'm not a veteran, but I have to salute you guys. These are people who worked hard to get here today. I mean, all of us could jump in a car, walk here. These people wanted to be here, and they have a handicap, and they fought for us. So, anything you ever could want from all of them, you come and talk to us. I knew Mark a long time. He sometimes hangs on the edge a little bit. But we've been friends a long time. When I got to learn the inner makings of Mark, when we took his original statue down to have it cast on stainless steel, we had a lot of hours to talk, and a lot of his inner feelings about this statue came up. And he would have to have you here till next Saturday at this time for him to make you understand why he devoted the time, attention, the love, and the respect to do this. We are all blessed here in Lackawanna County, especially all of them, because this is the only modern day fighter right now in the whole country. And you people brought that out here. So, like I said, thank you very much for all this hangout. But it's really hard to say things after so many wonderful people have spoken. Like these people here, Chris, and I'll get you too. But, once again, I know these people, and Reverend Jack, but you people have made all of them the town that it is. And we're on a great stretch right now. And with the help of people like Mark and Kim, 5.5 years ago, Kim came to me and talked about doing the statue. And I'm looking at her, she goes, well, yeah, we could do this. And I'm going, okay, I can wiggle my nose and do magic too. 5 years later, you see magic. Only one. So we are very blessed because ideas that came from all you people here, came together. People talking on the street as we passed. People have said things. We brought it back, we had meetings. Kim put all these ideas together. Mark executed something so expertly. If you look at the statue, there's shoelaces in the boots. I mean, it's truly wonderful. And I know I was running out of things to talk about, and I'm sorry I kept you. But once again, God bless all of you here, and all you people that have made veterans as wonderful as they have. You continue growing in your ideas. So.
And now, Gold Star family member Talia Walsh, fiancée of Sergeant Jan Arganish and owner of Quest Studio in Jessup. And I'm sorry about that, Talia.
Kim what she wanted me to talk about, and she said whatever I want. So Kim and George have been there for myself and Jan's family since day one. Since Jan made the ultimate sacrifice. And being a Gold Star family member, if you're not sure what that means, it means you've lost someone in your family to war, and it's not a role that any of us want to play. But I know that our family grows because of it, and Kim and George, you are a better part of my family. I appreciate God for that. But I know that there's many of you sitting in front of me from all eras of our past wars who have lost your brothers and sisters in war, and that family is greater than it ever should be. So I appreciate you guys and love and hold you very close to my heart. But this statue, my thank you, I know what it means to you, but it means a lot to us as Geno family. Freedom isn't free, and I'm glad that freedom stays free. God sees on the journey.
I've worked as a nurse for many years, and my greatest joy, besides this is pretty cool too, was being a nurse and being the trauma assistant at CMC's ER. Worked ICU in the neurological unit, in the intensive care unit, in the operating room. I was the trauma assistant who would kind of meet the traumas as they came in, cared for them, went to the operating room and assisted to ICU and then back to the ER and hoped everybody was alive when I got there. This next speaker worked with me for many years and was a devoted, selfless nurse. He has come full circle. He has many hats and many jobs. I am pleased to introduce to you our guest speaker and someone I worked with personally, and I have always looked up to him and envied him for what he does, because I might have did that if this didn't happen. But anyway, this is Lieutenant Colonel Geno Caracciolo. He was born in Carbondale and a 1987 graduate of Lakeland High School, and a 1992 graduate of Community Medical Center School of Nursing. In 1986, in his senior year of school, he enlisted with Company B, 1st Battalion, 109th Regiment, 28th Infantry of the National Guard in Carbondale. He attended Fort Benning for his basic training, and then after 6 years with that particular unit, he received an honorable discharge, and in 1995, he joined the 514th Aeromedical Evacuation Squadron at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. He became a flight nurse. He has served in Operation Enduring Freedom, and he was deployed 7 times. He has flown hundreds of missions into the desert, collected the worst of the worst, and cared for them on this plane coming back to Germany. What he has seen and experienced is beyond what a lot of people can tolerate in this world. But this is the man. This is the legend. And I invited him here. It was the first one I thought of to invite when we were going to do this, because he is our desert soldier. His wife Michelle also worked with us at CMC, and he lives with her and her children, Marianne, Krista, and Eva. And he is also retired from the Department of Corrections and is currently the Director of Operations and Aeromedical Evacuation Control Team at the 514th Air Mobility Operations Squadron, Joint Base McGuire, Dick, Lakehurst, New Jersey. That's a lot of words, I'll tell you. I'm glad I got that out. Come on up, Geno. Love to have you.
It's great to be here, folks. What an occasion. This is unbelievable. And I've known Kim a long time, as she stated. I used to work in the emergency department at CMC. We worked together on many traumas, and great nurse, great person. Her and George, always looking out for veterans. And it's an honor to be here, and thank you for the invite. I remember, I just want to throw this out. I remember quite a few years ago, Kim called me and asked me to participate and be the guest in the parade. You remember that. And, I was prior infantry, enlisted. And
you know, during the Operation Enduring Freedom, I was a flight nurse, you know, so I was in the rear with the gear, as they say, right? I was in these, you know, Kandahar, Bagram, weren't in the, you know, the austere bases. And when Kim asked me to march, I told her, I said, there's guys out there that have lead thrown at them, that were getting shot at. I said, you need to find somebody who did that, you know. I mean, I didn't feel worthy to march, you know, but thank you for asking that. So, Kim, my introduction did mention a lot of what my speech is, but I'm going to go ahead anyway. So, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, fellow veterans and distinguished guests. I'm honored to be here today alongside Brigadier General Weedle. Okay, and Talia, Walsh, to celebrate the unveiling and dedication of the Freedom Fighter Veterans Memorial Park. I would like to thank Kim and George Atkinson for inviting me here as guest speaker today. When Kim asked me to be a part of this dedication, I as well asked her, what would you like me to speak about? Kim said, just talk about my experiences while deployed as a flight nurse. So to do this, I'm going to start from the beginning. However, I know Kim already mentioned, so I'll go fast. I grew up in Mayfield, graduated from Lakeland High School, class of '97. Since childhood, I always knew that I wanted to follow in the tradition of my father, my brother, my uncles, my cousins, to serve in the military. With the blessing of my parents, I enlisted in the Army National Guard. In 1986, I was a senior in high school, 17 years old, so my parents signed the paper for me. I attended basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, and again, I was in B Company, 1st Battalion, 109th MEC, 28th Infantry Division. Oh. During my time in the Army Guard, I became interested in the medical field. I actually joined William Walker Ambulance Company and Ambulance Rescue Company in Mayfield. Became an EMT and then going to the ER. I'm like, this is cool, you know, I want to do this. I want to help people, and that's what I did. I went to CMC's nursing school, became a registered nurse. My enlistment was up in 1992 in the Army Guard, December of '92. I started working at CMC in 6th floor, med-surg, getting that, you know, initial skill experience. And then I transferred down to the emergency department where I wanted to be. I don't know how many of you out there remember, I know there's one medic here I saw when I first walked in, but Donahue Ambulance used to be around in the day. There was a paramedic named Chris Flagg, never forget him, bringing patients into the ER at CMC, and he said to me, Geno, you're a fire service, right? I said, yeah, I'm fire service. He goes, listen, I'm in an aerovac squadron at McGuire Air Force Base. He said, you should join up, man. He goes, you'll get commissioned as an officer. We fly all over the place, training missions. We go to Florida, we go to Germany, the Azores, Iceland. I'm like, hey, my dad kicks himself in the butt all the time for getting out of the military. He would say, I could be getting a pension now, you know? So I went down to McGuire Air Force Base, spoke to the recruiter. February 1995 active mission, 2nd Lieutenant, 514th Aeromedical Evacuation Squadron, McGuire Air Force Base. So I went through my training, and from time of my enlistment all the way up to 10 September of 2001, it was flying training missions and doing some real-world missions with non-combat injured patients, you know, in Germany, Azores, Iceland. And then what happened, right? After the attacks on September 11th, my whole world changed. In fact, our whole world changed, right? I knew at that point, for the first time in my life, that I would be deploying to do the job I've been training for since 1995. On that fateful day, I was in Williamsburg, Virginia on a family vacation with my wife and my oldest daughter, Marianne, over there at the time. Where'd she go? She was just over there. Oh. I woke up in the morning, I'm sure as many of us did, to the Twin Towers on fire. And watching that in practice cold throughout the day, I was just waiting for the call from my squadron. And it happened at 7 p.m. that night. The recall came through, check and see where you're at, be ready to go, get all your readiness items completed. We got we got sent to our squadron in New Jersey, went through mobility lines. Those of you who have done it, you know what I'm talking about. Going through the mobility lines, getting your shots, doing your wills, getting all prepared to go. After the 2 weeks there, they said, go home, we have nowhere to send you. I'm like, okay, however you will be going. In the meantime, went back to civilian world, started working at the state for the Department of Corrections, SCI Waymark. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you. And just waited for the call, and that call came. I was on my second to last day of orientation, up on C2 block. The phone rang in the office. The nurse I was with said, "There's a phone call for you, some major." Answered the phone. I was a captain at the time, Captain Carrasco, and Major Walsh in the squadron. You've just been activated. You have 2 days to report to the squadron. After that, I got the phone call from the wife. The squadron called, what's going on? Told her I got activated. Tears came down. I went home, and 2 weeks later, I was on an aircraft to Seed North Air Base in Oman. Nobody knows where Oman is. You have Saudi Arabia, right? Big desert, and then it's on the east coast of Saudi Arabia. Below Oman is Yemen, you have Kuwait up above there. So, yeah, that's how it all started. Seed North Air Base in Oman. From there, we were forward deploying into Kandahar, Afghanistan, Bagram, Afghanistan, and Jacobabad, Pakistan. The AE crews, Aerovac crews, we would sit for a week at a time waiting for injured. If there was any injuries, we would load them up on the aircraft and we would fly them back to Seed North Air Base in Oman, where they would gather, and then a jet would come in from Germany, pick them up, and they would transfer them to Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. So that's how it went. One of the things I'll never forget was my first flight into Afghanistan. I'm sure there's many veterans here who experienced something that you'll never forget. I have a lot in my head, but I want to say my first flight into Afghanistan. We left Oman in a C-130 aircraft, and we left in the evening time, right? You don't want to fly when the enemy can see you. And we hit Afghanistan airspace. The cargo compartment lights went out. The red lights came on. The loadmaster in the back of the C-130 said, get your helmet and your body armor on and be prepared to land. Kept going. Next thing you know, that plane does a nosedive. Tactical landing. That plane dove down to do a tactical landing. I remember grabbing that troop seat, and it felt like we were on a roller coaster, that initial, dive on the roller coaster. And then that plane just banked, rolled in, landed. The cargo doors opened, and some special ops guys pulled up in the pickup truck saying, get out of the truck, not exactly in those words. Get your gear out, let's go. I just thought to myself, hey, welcome to Afghanistan, this is it, right? So during this first deployment, fortunately, there were not many American casualties, which is a good thing. Right? However, one event that does stick in my mind involved Afghani children. So myself and my 2 crew members we were in Kandahar on alert status. The call came in. There were some Afghani kids walking through a field. One of them stepped on a landmine. So with that being said, the Army and the choppers, the medevac choppers came in, brought them to the base in Kandahar. We loaded them up on a British C-130 because the Americans wouldn't fly at the time due to weather conditions. Loaded them up, and we flew those children from Kandahar to Kabul. Right? And that, myself and the crew definitely had a sense of accomplishment on that mission. We got those kids out of there. A year later, the Iraq War kicked off. In March 2003, I was sent to Rota Naval Air Station in Spain, and we were staging for missions in Kuwait and Iraq. With the increase of combat casualties, medical assets were redistributed, and in July of 2003, I was deployed to Ramstein Air Base in Germany. This is where the true horrors of war hit me. We were flying into Baghdad, and we were evacuating injured service members at maximum capacity. Any of you remember the C-141 aircraft? They were loaded, okay? And with every wound imaginable, from gunshot wounds to amputations to mental health emergencies. This is where my experience working at CMC's emergency department proved invaluable. It gave me the knowledge and skills to help treat these terrible injuries our brave servicemen and women sustain. One lasting memory from this deployment, and there are many, was when myself and my crew were alerted for a special mission. This mission was to bring 2 critically injured soldiers and 1 gravely injured soldier back to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, which is at Andrews Air Force Base, Maryland. On board this aircraft were also 4 soldiers who had made the ultimate sacrifice. It was a very somber atmosphere, as you can imagine, during the 7-hour flight from Germany to Andrews. The gravely injured soldier was being brought back home to Walter Reed to be with his family one last time, and our 4 fallen heroes were being brought to their final resting place. Memories like these never leave your mind. As the years went by and the wars progressed, I deployed 4 more times, continuing to evacuate the sick and injured in theater. On my final deployment in 2013, I was sent to the 609th Air and Space Operations Center, Al-Udeid Air Base Qatar, to plan, coordinate, and execute aeronautical evacuation missions in theater. Today, I continue my service in the Air Force Reserve and will continue to serve until I'm no longer able, which means the military kicks me out. So as we all know, next Friday, November 11th, is Veterans Day, correct? I'd like to ask all service members and veterans who are here today to stand or raise your hands. Come on. Okay. You have made so many sacrifices, missing birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, maybe the birth of a child, and so much more. Thank you for answering the call to duty. You have made our armed forces the most respected in the world. Now I'd also like to ask family members of any service member to stand or raise a hand. Okay. We know you have lived and are still living through difficult times and often take on a heavy load to keep the home fires burning. Thank you for all you do. With that being said, I would like to thank Kim and George Atkinson again for having me as a guest speaker today. And I would like to recognize the job well done by all who led and assisted in this effort to commission and build this Veterans Memorial Park. God bless you all, God bless our troops, and God bless this great nation. Thank you.
Tell you a little story about Geno working with him. He had just come back from the deployment and was all revved up and psyched up from dealing with all these terrible callers and things, and he was used to getting right to the meat of it. And I ran in as the trauma assistant. We had a terrible gunshot wound and stabbing, and it was not a pretty scene. And I got in there first, and he ran in behind me. I don't know if you remember this, but I ran in first, the gunshot wound. You came in behind me and picked me up and moved. And I'm glad he did, because the two of us worked well together, but he was the best at it. Thank you, Geno. I'm going to deviate from the program just one last time, because I see someone in the crowd that I have to recognize, and he was instrumental and so supportive of getting us started. And that is our former County Commissioner, Patrick O'Malley. Please come up, Patrick, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, it's an honor and privilege to be here with all the servicemen. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much. How about Kim Atkinson? Isn't she the best? Let's give her a big round of applause. And Mark and the committee and everybody that helped. This really matters because this symbolizes all of our soldiers from Desert Storm forward. the modern soldier. And it's the only one in the United States. And I have a bouquet of flowers here for Kim, because she's a special girl. She's the best on this earth, and she loves veterans. She cares about the veterans like the rest of us do. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And Kim, this is for you. Thank you for all your time.
Okay, next, we have the head of Veterans Affairs for Lackawanna County and a very good friend of mine, Mr. David Isley.
Known Kim and George for many years, and this is awesome. I remember meeting one back in 2017, and you said, what do you think about that? I did. I wanted it for my office. I wanted to see it.
Well, you know, you got another one.
That's good. That's good. But it's my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Brigadier General Maureen Weiba, who was appointed Deputy Adjutant General for Veterans Affairs on April 12, 2021. This position, she supervises and administers state veterans programs and our wonderful veterans homes. She's retired from the Army back in May of 2016 after serving 25 years, and she still continues to serve, just in a different capacity, helping our veterans, our honored veterans that are in the state homes every day. We have a great team. All the counties, all 67 counties have the county director of Veterans Affairs and the county office. And with her support, we are going to the next level to help veterans and their families. So it's my honor to introduce Brigadier General Maureen Weiba.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is really an honor and a privilege and humbling to be here with all of you. I don't know what to say. They say, if you build it, they will come. Well, look what you did. This is absolutely spectacular, and it is so critically important for our veterans that we do this. And I'm so honored that you highlighted the 21st century soldier. This has the best essence of what it was like to be in Iraq and Afghanistan, minus the 140 degrees temperatures, and he was right. And minus the sandstorms that I remember vividly, but thank you. This is really beautiful, and congratulations for bringing this all together. You know, I get the opportunity to go around the Commonwealth, and I attend many events. I was in Mifflinburg this morning for a Veterans Day event, and I'm always humbled when I see a group get together like this for our veterans. I met a gentleman last year, and he was a Vietnam pilot that was shot down and was a prisoner of war for 2 years. And he was in a prison camp with a man named Everett Alverson, who was in that camp for over 8.5 years, the second longest prisoner of war, but the first Vietnam pilot to be shot down. And what he said was, when they get together, when a new pilot was shot down, he would arrive into the camp and everyone would immediately tell him what to do and what not to do to survive. And then they would, of course, ask obvious questions. What year is it? What day is it? What holiday is it right now? What football team is winning? Are women still wearing miniskirts? They did ask that question. But most importantly, are they still looking for us? Did they forget about us? And he said every year when he goes to events and he comes to memorials, and he gets together on Veterans Day or around Veterans Day for events like this, it means everything to those veterans to never forget. And I'm really encouraged seeing all of you here, and I hope you come back And I hope you do gather here, and I hope you do talk to each other and talk about stories. As Lieutenant Colonel mentioned, Friday is Veterans Day. And we're going to talk about the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month, back when a war-torn Europe became silent. That was supposed to be the war to end all wars. But we know that didn't happen. For over 100 years, the United States has sent brave men and women to battle. And we have a war that is still ongoing. And more kids are signing up to serve. And I want to say thank you to these young kids over here in their uniform for signing up. You know, in 2003, I was a major and I worked at Fort Uniontown Gap, and I was responsible for mobilizing the National Guard. That was the largest mobilization for the National Guard since the Korean War. And every state was trying to figure out how to mobilize their units. We had to send the 2nd Brigade Combat Team over to Iraq. And the 2nd Brigade Combat Team had to be made up of all the National Guard service members from around the country, from around the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We had a cross level because the unit at the time wasn't prepared and supported to go. That took a huge effort, and it changed everything for all of our communities. Many folks from Olyphant, from Carbondale, from Scranton joined that unit and mobilized. We didn't know how to get them ready to prepare. We were going through and building I guess you say the airplane as you're in flight. And that's what we were trying to do. So many things have changed since the Vietnam era. Now we were sending units, but we don't have an active duty installation around here in Pennsylvania. So we don't have that support. So the community wasn't sure what to do. Employers lost service members to go with the National Guard. Moms and dads were leaving their families. Schools were now having children who had parents in war zones, and they didn't know how to care for those children. We didn't have the community support, but we've learned a lot, and over the last 20 years, we have built that infrastructure. That unit, 2nd Brigade Combat Team, we had 34 killed in action. So I would get the phone calls, and we had to learn how to do the casualty affairs, how to notify families, how to do funeral honors for that large number of service members, and how to care for Gold Star families. And we didn't have the support at the time, but we learned. And so many wonderful things have changed. The Lieutenant Colonel talked about what he experienced over in Iraq as a combat medic. I will tell you, if in Vietnam, a service member lost all 4 limbs, they would never have survived. Today, because of medics like him and nurses like him, we are seeing more and more folks becoming amputees with multiple limbs, and they are living and they are walking again today. So I say thank you for everything that you have done. You know, we learned a lot from Vietnam. We learned a lot about post-traumatic stress. And post-traumatic stress and the issues you all have endeavored and suffered from the Agent Orange. Our Gulf War veterans have also experienced post-traumatic stress, but they've also experienced mild traumatic brain injury and traumatic brain injury, and it took us a while to understand the differences of those symptoms. They've also been exposed to toxic burn pit exposure, and I'm going to talk about the PAC Act here in a second. But we know now how to care for you. And coming together and coming to events and gathering around these flagpoles is going to enable you to help each other and help each other find the resources you need. As Dave mentioned, I'm the Deputy Adjutant General for Veteran Affairs. There's over 700,000 veterans in Pennsylvania. We still have about 13,000 World War II veterans, over 50,000 Korean War veterans, over 260,000 Vietnam era veterans, and now we have the largest number of post-Gulf War veterans, over 265,000. It's amazing. I don't do my job alone. I have wonderful county directors that we work with. David Isley is the head of all the county directors. He's fabulous. You should be very proud of him. We work with veteran service organizations, the Marine Corps League, the American Legion, the VFWs, all of those organizations. They all have veteran service officers that can help veterans understand their benefits and file their claims. And it's important that you know where to go. They also can refer you to the help in your communities. We, in Pennsylvania, have a special group called the Governor's Advisory Council for Veteran Services. Every other department in Pennsylvania works with me. We make sure Department of Health, Aging, Human Services, Department of Agriculture, we work together to share federal and state resources for veteran concerns and issues. Pennsylvania is absolutely, positively, very supportive of their veterans. We work on 6 committees that we've identified are key areas for veterans. Aging. I have my Geno Merli veteran homes close right here. I run 6 nursing homes. We need to make sure veterans can stay in your homes longer. We need to make sure that you have what you need. Unfortunately, if you need skilled nursing, it's about $20,000 a month out of your pocket. If you're a veteran with 70% or more disability and you come into my nursing homes like Geno Merli, the cost of care is covered by your veteran benefits. So it is imperative you understand how to get those disability ratings and engage your man for that. We have a committee for homelessness. There are still a large number of veterans that are homeless, and because of the housing market right now, it's very expensive. And we have a lot of young veterans that are in the Guard, and veterans that are Vietnam era veterans that are losing their homes because they have housing insecurity. So we have a committee for that. Behavioral health, suicide prevention, that is always an ongoing critical issue. Young soldiers and Vietnam era veterans still are battling those issues. We have a committee for women. Women are the fastest growing demographic of veterans in the country. I joined the military. There's about 10% of women in the armed forces. Today it's almost 16%. By 2025 it'll be 25%. And that means we have to have equitable resources for the women in our community. So we're building coalitions to do that. We have a committee for education and employment and outreach. 200,000 active duty veterans leave the service every year. I want them to come to Olyphant. I want them to work here. I want them to build your community. I want them to meet all of you wonderful, patriotic, proud people. So we need to make sure that we get the veterans back. That's a big thing. And what else do we work on? Did I miss one? Judicial. This is another favorite one. It's going to lead into the next one well. We have a group that works with, we have 25 veteran courts. We have 67 counties. I'd love to have 67 veteran courts, but we don't. But we're growing. But we also have 2,000 veterans currently incarcerated in state correctional institutes. We have 5 veteran service units at 5 of the state correctional institutes. If you want to know what bonding and what healing means, you should see these units. All veterans, you could only be on these units if you're a veteran. The veterans that are in prison for life mentor and guide the folks that are going to be leaving, and they have cut the recidivism rate down. 80% success rate by being in those units because they revert right back to military discipline, military bonding, and they take care of each other, just like you're going to do when you're gathered around this flagpole and this statue. It is critically important for the care of our veterans. I absolutely love what we do for veterans every day. And there's a lot of changes. So I know I'm talking about benefits instead of this beautiful sculpture, but I think they all hit on that topic. The PAC Act just came out. It's a new legislative change. And what the PAC Act does is if you are a Vietnam era veteran and you've been denied benefits in the past for conditions that you've had, they've expanded the list of conditions and you may now qualify for those benefits. Getting you to 70% and 100% rating is our job, and you deserve it if you meet those requirements. If you're a Gulf War veteran and you were exposed to toxic burn pit exposure, you may now be qualified for benefits. I really mean I want all of you to know this and tell people where to get help. 2 months ago, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who's a general, and he had a major who served with him in Iraq, and he said he's very sick, Marine, and he needs your help. His paperwork's in, but it hasn't gone through. So I called the individual, my team called the individual, and we found out he was going to pass away in a few days. 41 with 3 young kids. He wanted to get his 100% rating so that his wife would receive benefits for the rest of her life for her kids. So we made the phone call, we were able to do that, and we met his family. But there are many people that fall into that category. So please reach out and talk to folks. And the reason why I bring this all up is everybody needs to know how to help a veteran. And all of the veterans need to know how to help your fellow veterans. So the other wonderful thing in Pennsylvania, we have a very nice database and resource for all of you. It's called PA Vet Connect. Very simple. I can give you the whole website, but just remember PA Vet Connect. So if you sat here and you saw a veteran on a bench that looks like they were homeless, would you know where to send them? If you found a mother with 2 young children and she needed to find food and assistance for rent, would you know where to send her? PA Vet Connect, what it'll do, it'll give you Dave Isley's in the county offices, any county in the Commonwealth, all the phone numbers of the contacts, because you might have someone who lives in Pittsburgh or Erie or Philadelphia, and I'm everywhere all over. You go there, it'll show you how to get a hold of the resources in those communities. You might have an aunt or an uncle or brother you want to put into one of my nursing homes. You can go there and find out how to do that. So I just encourage all of you to learn. Never stop talking and sharing. The coolest thing about veterans is we have some fun stories. When I go to my nursing homes, everybody remembers the guy that sat in the aircraft with them before they jumped out of their first airplane. Everybody remembers their drill sergeant. Many people remember their recruiter, for good or bad, better or worse. Most of us have fond memories. Talking about those helps us. It helps heal, it helps comfort, but it helps bond, and that is never a bad thing. So I really want to congratulate Olyphant and all of you for this beautiful monument. I thank you for doing it. I am honored to represent all of you. I'm one of your lead advocates. I will stick around for a little while. I want to say to every veteran, thank you all for your service. To the family members, thank you all. And I wish you all a great day and a great Veterans Day. Thank you. And I really want to give you this is really remarkable that we are, honoring Gulf War veterans now, post-Gulf War veterans. So I would like to give you my coin and Mark. Dave, you scooted away without me doing it. All right, moving on. We've already done that for our speakers. I know Geno did this, but there's certain people here that I want to call upon. And I have an honored guest here from my family, and he's a World War II veteran. Not too many of them left. He's in his 90s. I'm not sure exactly what, 97 years old, okay? He has a paver in his heel. And this man walked across Europe, not once, twice, okay? Got shot in the boot, but it protected him. But his name is Frank Hodorowski, my uncle. And would you hold up your hand, Frank? And can you stand up? Thank you for the meeting. Thank you so much for your time. By any chance, is Sandra Obshinsky here? Sandra is our grants management person in the county, and she was instrumental in helping me write the first grant for this project. And I just wanted to bring attention to her because she was so kind and generous in doing it, and I know it's a great endeavor. So I'm going to give this to you because I know you will see her. Okay? Yeah, give it to Jake. Give me my card. Thank you. And okay.
Before we move on, I want to do a roll call. Anybody in the Army here? Raise your hand, please. Give them a round of applause. How about Marines? Thank you, gentlemen, for being okay. Navy. All right. Air Force. And Coast Guard. Coast Guard. Mark is presenting the Geno Merli veterans, and I want to thank you gentlemen for coming to this event. It's an honor to have you here. And our Post 327, American Legion, and our, the Peckville, and I forget the name of your, Shuta Davy. I know that, but I was having a moment. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And now we'd like to ask, I'm just going to change one thing. I'm going to ask the veterans from Post 327 to present their wreath at the monument. Little delay in their wreath laying. They'll be back in a moment with their wreath. Okay? Okay. In the meantime, we're going to do a bell ceremony with a moment of silence for each and every serviceman lost.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah.
We're going to go through the wars that we know from World War I.
Well, actually, the bell ceremony is something a little bit different. Okay. First off, good afternoon, everyone. What a great day for the Borough of Olyphant and its veterans community, both present and past. Kim, thanks. Mark, thanks for making this such a historic day for the borough. I can remember growing up on this street in 1967, myself and a bunch of us from Olyphant High School, we all joined the Marine Corps and we left here and went to war. And this is really a great honor for the Gulf War veterans. This is the first of its kind, I think, in the Valley, right? Yeah. So this is a very solemn ceremony, and I'm really proud and honored to be doing this in tribute to our fallen service members. Usually for this service, there's a table, and on this table sits a red rose to signify the blood of our fallen comrades. There's a crystal glass of water to quench their thirst for freedom, salt to remind them of the pain they felt lest we forget them, and the china on the table is bone white, as it is the purity of their hearts and their sacrifices. These items are placed on a white linen tablecloth that could be used as a clean bandage for their wounds. We take this time to remember them. This table we set for them today is a special place, as it is the place we hold for them in our hearts, minds, and our country. In the past, 2 bells marked the end of routine day aboard ship or military post. This was a time for tattoo, which is the recall of service members to their quarters as soon taps would be sound throughout the ship or post. Certainly, this is the most appropriate time to honor our departed comrades. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please bow your heads? The toll of the bell reminds us of the reverence we owe to our departed comrades. To those who guard the honor of our country upon the sea, in the air, and on foreign soil. Let it be a reminder of the faith they confided in us. Let us who gather here not forget our obligation, and in silence read the prayer for our absent comrades. Let us offer a silent prayer for our departed service members. This moment of reverence we dedicate to the memory of our fellow brothers and sisters in arms who have gone before us. Rifle squad, prepare. Please, everybody, just be careful over there. They're gonna file a rifle volley. Scott, it's all yours.
Good kid. Fire team. Forward. On. Ready. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Recover. Preset. Order. Ceremonial parade.
Thank you.
Selection from Black Family Bagpipers. There's 1 or 2 people that I just want to recognize here and make sure that they know how appreciated they are. Jeff Parise, John Parise, Jason Parise. Jeff, stand up. You deserve a round of applause. Thank you. They did all the stones and helped us from day one. And Jeff, you have been instrumental in helping me put up 4 or 5. I've lost count mine so far, so thank you. I think this is the last one. I'm not going to bother you again. The Boy Scouts, where are they? I know they're here somewhere. Thank you, sir, and gentlemen, for helping us There's a gentleman and his wife that we met out shopping just a few weeks ago. I see him here, and I want to recognize Clarence and his wife, Jackie Brown, over here. And some of the names are obviously, and we just hit it off. And I learned service and his dedication, and hers as well. She's from a military family, and I invited them here today as honored guests, and thank you for coming. We're so grateful that you're here. I have family from out of town. The DeAngelis is all right here. You made the trek in. Thank you so much for coming. We have their fathers all together and grandfathers all in one space here. Is the Marino family here from Jessup? There he is. Okay. John Marino, I believe, might have been your father.
My brother
Your
and father.
Okay. He was a very good friend of Reno DeAngelis.
DeAngelis, yes.
We have their two pavers. They're going to be put together very shortly. We had made a mistake replacing them in the wrong place, but we're going to make it right, okay? I talked to, this is a long story, but John and Reno were very good friends. They both went off to war.
That's right.
And they both came home together.
One went to Memphis, the other one to Nashville, and their children married each other.
I was just going to say that, yes. Many years later, the grandchildren, is it their granddaughter? Would it be their granddaughter that married Reno's grandson? Right? Oh, Reno's son. Okay, so anyway, those two families, even though one lived in Memphis and one was here, they got together and somehow they got married. I don't know how that happened, but it was cool. Our National Guard over here, thank you so much for coming. Our police department, our chief, Mr. James Defoe, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for us. And our fire departments that came out and raised this beautiful flag above our heads here. There's a special gentleman that made a trek in, and I didn't find out till last night that he's staying in a hotel. He made the special effort to come in. Fran Staples, where are you, Fran? I know you're here somewhere. I just saw him out of the corner of my eye over there, but just so he knows, I'm recognizing you, Fran, because he made a special effort to come in. I helped him with his disabilities, and we got him everything that he needed, and I'm so glad and thankful that he came. And we have a paver in his honor right here at the monument. Very good friends, Joanne and Michael, thank you for all your help and support, and everybody that came forward. And Joe. Joe is our paramedic over there. Joe has been with us from day one. And this is a veteran who was denied, and I need to get him some help. So if anybody can help us with that, please. He's well deserving Vietnam era veteran, and we need your help. Anybody else that you want to thank?
I just wanted to thank all the service people one more time. This whole project was about a respect for our military that was ingrained in me since I was a child. My uncles were soldiers, my father was a soldier. Thank you for your service. This person appreciates the service of every single armed forces personnel. Thank you.
This is for John DeAngelis in the architectural department of Johnson College, who helped with the design.
And I learned about that. 51-year-old man.
Okay, we'll take a break because we're going to lay our wreath at the monument by our Legion from chapter 327. Where do you prefer? Thank you. Okay, the Marine Corps League of Scranton. Maybe Joel, will you come up for this, please?
Scott.
Next we have Monuments by Paris. Come on up here. Anyone here from Lowe's, Dixon City? There you are. Come on up here. Come up here, guys. They were so generous to us, and anything we needed, they just gave to us. They were just out of, I'm out of words to thank them, because they were here for us that morning at 3:30 in the morning on TV. Thank you, guys. How about anybody from Corky's Garden Path? They helped us with a lot of things. I don't think they're here, but I'll get them to them. Urban Electric. Urban Electric was our electrician. Fabulous people. Thank them. And Pennsylvania Ambulance, where's Joe? Come on up here, Joe. And one more thing, our soldiers. Would you come up one at a time so I could give you a coin, please? Come on. And I just have one more special person, and I want to honor this person as well. This gentleman helped me when I was down and out, when I had some medical issues and I almost did not recover. And I believe his prayers and comfort and his prayer blanket that his community gave me helped me tremendously. And he's my favorite pastor, Pastor Ed Ashcombe of the Christian Motorcycle Association. He's going to give our benediction. And his wife Karen is so sweet too. Thank you. They came to my house and prayed. They've come to hospitals and prayed. Thank you, sir.
This is quite an honor to be here today in front of everybody here, but most of all, underneath our most gracious God who makes all this possible. And I just want to thank our God, and I'm going to pray today that you all come here in remembrance of this statute and take time to sit at these benches and pray for our nation. Oh, gracious God, we come to you right now. And we just ask that you continue to hold your hand upon this nation, upon our servicemen, upon their families, and give us the wisdom that we need to be this nation that you've called us to be. And it's a strong nation because of you, Lord. And I just ask that all of us come together in agreement and lift this whole thing up to our gracious God and thank him. And it's not just our servicemen that come to serve. We've been called to come and serve in prayer for all of our military people and for our government and for our nation. And I ask that we all take time each day to remember who God really is and who he's called us to be, and take time to ask him for his grace and mercy upon this nation, for our nation needs God more than ever. And I just ask, Lord, that you hear our prayers and that you answer our prayers and you watch over not just our military that are serving, but their families that are hurting and need you to comfort them. And Lord, just let us remember today how great this day was in honoring our military and today's soldier, that we may come here and remember them anytime we feel like it, sitting in these benches and lift our nation in prayer. Almighty God, I thank you for today, and I thank you for who you are. Lord, just help us to remember who you called us to be, and let us be that praying nation that we need to be. I ask all this in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Amen.
Well, we did it. I'm so glad and honored that you all came out. Oh yes, we're going to do bagpipes now. Thank you.
together.